Okay, so according to that same line of thinking, I go ahead and click Nintendo Prime's tweet, the one that was responded to by Legendary Drops. I spoke about the economic reality that these gaming companies are facing, and even content creators themselves need to realize that they can put themselves in the shoes of other consumers and see that there is some sort of a disconnect at the end of the day. Nintendo Prime said, "Well, I figured this was coming. Every video in my timeline is about how Mario Kart isn't worth the money. Is any content creator excited besides me?" And then he says, "No, I'm not going to make a it's worth the money video because I'm not interested in that conversation." Well, the comments are very interesting. This person says your earnings depend on making Nintendo content. So I understand that you have to force yourself to like everything coming from Nintendo, but not wanting to listen to anyone with a different opinion is absurd. Now, I got to say this, ladies and gentlemen, we have our opinions, okay? There are some things that I like that I would sit there and I would defend. Don't get me wrong, but I'll try my best to defend it with what I think is valid evidence and valuable aspects of it. In the case of a gaming company like Nintendo trying to raise prices, there's a reason people are irked out. There's a reason this is giving people the ick. It's simply because these games, they just don't look like they have a budget to justify the kind of money that they're asking for. It is just what it is. Like, there's no way you play a game like Tom Clancy's The Division, right? One, two, maybe play some of these other titles that have just this look to them. I'm not saying that their look makes them better. I'm just saying, you handle these kinds of games and then you try to play a Nintendo game, what do you get? You know what I mean? And you think about it and say, why are they asking this much for this game? That's, I think, what's probably happening in one pocket of the whole thing. That's probably somewhere in my brain. Maybe I'm just weird, okay? But then there's the other side of the financial economy. But this person said, if you're a partner who doesn't pay for your games or consoles and your income depends on that same company, maybe you shouldn't be the one talking about pricing. And this person said, let's be honest, you can't expect to sound neutral when you call yourself Nintendo Prime. This person, Acer Malos, is a Nintendo fanboy. Their deal is that, oh, they're blindly hating on Nintendo being the new cash cow. This user, you can't talk. I see you all over the place making fun of PlayStation and Xbox users. Get lost. Another person said, how could anyone not be interested in a topic about a game's financial worth? The entire industry is predicated upon this one subject. This guy basically has just exposed my entire channel because I'm just laughing because people say stuff like that. Now, check this one out. This one was kind of interesting. This person went ahead and put this tweet from Nintendo Prime. Unless they doctored this to me seems like pure fanboyism, and Nintendo Prime is guilty of blindly following a trend because now it's his favorite platform. This tweet from him that was actually put out September 17th, 2020, says Sony is charging $70 for all their next-gen games. Then he says, looks like they're pushing the new standard pricing increase we all got mad at Activision for trying to do. Hope Sony gets the same backlash. Then he said, but they won't because people like them. I don't know what else to do with this, ladies and gentlemen. I just think, okay, I think you may have just gone ahead to make a case for all of these videos that you're complaining are all negative, because at least, I wouldn't say all the videos that are negative are making that same case, but at least some of them might be making the same case that you made 5 years ago when PlayStation was about to do the exact same thing. So I took some time to do a little bit of digging to make sure that this tweet was not doctored. And apparently Nintendo Prime did go ahead and address this. And you can see the date, April 19, 2025. Apparently, it looks kind of sus, if you get what I mean. And this is from this user, KJN Gamer, who is a PlayStation fanboy. This one got into it with the Turk, with the whole thing about Black Myth Wukong, of which the Turk, gladly used data to smack him and, the Nib and whoever the other person that was all that, whatever. Anyways, Nintendo Prime says, since this is getting spread, fine, let's talk about it. Man, I told this guy to stop with this stuff, man. Well, that was about performance. Perhaps he needs to also be told, you need to chill with this whole pricing thing, because No one's going to look at your work as objective. And he says, yep, that's me. Reading comprehension can be very difficult. And now that it's posted 5 years later, nobody remembers the context. Okay, tell us the context. He says, Activision was being blasted for bumping their games to $70. Sony then did the same thing, but barely anyone was calling it out. I pointed out this fact because if you're going to blast Activision, then you should equally be blasting everyone. Then he says, look at the heat Nintendo is getting right now over a single $80 game, not their entire lineup, just a single game. This heat did not exist for Sony when they went to $70. So no, it's not hypocritical to basically say if you're going to blast one company for price hike, you should equally blast all of them for it. However, Mr. Ninty Prime, you did say that you hoped that Sony would get that you hope Sony gets the same backlash. If I'm reading correctly, because I don't know what you're talking about, you said here, hope Sony gets the same backlash. So you were hoping that Sony would get the backlash. Now, you're saying in your tweet that you're coming to address this, that you did not say that you did not bash Sony in that regard. You were just saying that everybody should maintain similar energy levels, right? Well, you know how gamers are. They'll never maintain similar energy levels. So what's happening now is people are looking and seeing if Nintendo is doing this, they're looking at the problem that you pointed out from Activision and Sony. You can't get out of this one, bro. Goodness. It says, so no, it's not hypocritical to basically say if you're going to blast one company for a price hike, you should equally blast them all for it. So he says, I think it's totally fair to criticize Nintendo over $80 games. Well, good. If you actually pay attention to what I've said this entire time, I literally have been very consistent about this. But why would I need to call out people to blast Nintendo over something they're already being blasted for? I called out people who weren't willing to do it to Sony, but did for Activision. I was asking them to be consistent. Didn't sound like that to me. And then said, I get it. Reading comprehension and now time, where context is now no longer remembered, leads people to thinking this is a gotcha. All right, Ninty Prime. I wonder. Anyways, let's keep going. Lastly, I actually never did blast Sony for $70 games. I was asking those who blasted Activision to be consistent. So actually, I'm pretty consistent. I even made a video once talking about inflation on why games are going to $70 back then. So I've been pretty consistent in how much I haven't really minded the price hikes. What I'm also consistent in is asking people to be fair across the board. Nib95. Oh, it's the convergence of the PlayStation and the Nintendo fanboys. What is this? This is a gift. It says, you're insulting people's intelligence. I can't even say this without laughing. Xbox players, I've been telling y'all that you are so fortunate and you guys did not want to listen to me. You were giving me smoke. You were giving me trouble. Look at them now. While you are sitting, you can't, some of you, see, Xbox, I got to bring y'all into this, man. Get the heck out of here. You can't even hear the noise over the barrage of games that have clogged your eardrums. Oh my gosh. This video's taking it down. This video is going south. All right, I'm going to just keep going. Let me see if I can try to recover this. Okay. Doubling down on deception and hypocrisy here by claiming nobody was blasting PlayStation for raising prices to $70. Many people were criticizing PlayStation more than the publishers that were actually first to it. Now, Nib's got 13 replies. I'm sure it's replies from all kinds of, oh, not you, Nib, yabba dabba dibba dib. You know what? Why don't we just go ahead? This one says, nowhere in that tweet did I use the word nobody or no one. I asked at the time that people keep the same energy that they had for Activision raising the prices. Blah, 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 blah. And it says the prediction was wrong. Absolutely. How was that? Nib said, Nib pulled the receipts. You said barely anyone, which is a bald-faced lie. Even Grok knows. Oh, they're pulling Grok. Nib can't beat the chat GPT allegations. And while I'll eventually be getting to switch to and buying their games, even at $80 or more, there's a massive contextual difference in Nintendo raising prices versus others, as I cover with data/facts in this tweet. Get the heck out of here now. Y'all want to come out with data and facts. Puerto Rock. Yo, bro. Puerto Rock comes out and says Sony did get blasted. In fact, the blast went so viral that you have people think it was Sony who first announced the price hike when it was actually Activision, Take-Two, and EA. I just think what you actually wanted was for the vitriol to damage the PlayStation brand, and it didn't happen. Now, this guy says, no, I didn't wish any harm on PlayStation brand at all. I don't care about the console wars, man. Competition is good for all brands. And then but Puerto Rock doesn't believe him. You say that, but then try to rewrite history. You're getting called out even by Xbox guys. It's fine to call me out, blah, 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 blah. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Man, this has been an interesting read. But I have to end this video at some point because I just can't. Okay? I mean, see, I've gotten to the point where I was going to say, okay, let's take a critical look at Nintendo. But I think the market is going to do it for me. I think the market is actually going to come in here and do the job while I just sit back and relax and just watch. Because I already said it. The value proposition that Nintendo is basically seeking is just for the fans who love nostalgia. When you actually think about it, the gaming industry is just so saturated and people are just so well fed, in, metaphorically, that why should they all have to bust their butts to go ahead and now try to, in a sense, play a Nintendo game that at the end of the day, they could play and enjoy other games that are available to them elsewhere. And then the economy is no longer allowing for your dollar to move as it did. And these companies are trying to ask you for more money because they're facing economic challenges, as if to say that you are immune from them. It's almost insulting, to be honest, especially with the PlayStation one. But hey, Clash of the Fanboys. I guess this was very interesting. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.